that the wives of, the spouses of the Vice Chancellor will have a separate syndicate session, and they will deliberate on how to support their husbands, on how to bring social and other networks to their universities. We want to say that our excellency has been wonderful. When Avcnu met in Abuja last year, Her Excellency was with us at the summit in Abuja in 2016, and we want to thank her on behalf of Avcnu for always being in support of the Nigerian university system. Can you please give her a round of applause? Thank you. Our profound gratitude goes therefore to His Excellency, the Governor, and by implication, the Deputy Governor who's presenting him today. Our great thanks goes to the Redeemer of Redeemers University. In Redeemers University, we say our Redeemer is strong. We appreciate all the support given by the visitor to this university, the General Overseer of Redeemed Christian Church of God, the RCCG. You see, they have given us a lot of support in terms of money and so on. We are really enjoying. We are the best because they are giving us the support. We also want to appreciate the Governing Council of this university, and we also appreciate the unquantifiable support of everyone, the principal officers and so on. Furthermore, I wish to express my sincere gratitude and that of the university to our partners, the RCCG National Protocol. And I want to thank in particular the protocol in this conference is led all the way from Port Harcourt. These vehicles have come all around the country and is led by the Special Assistant to the General Overseer, our Daddy in the Lord, Daddy E.A. Adeboye. The protocol is being led in this place by a special assistant for special duties, Pastor Belimina Obonge, all the way from Port Harcourt. I want him to stand up for recognition. I hope he's here. Okay? All right. I think he's still running around. Finally, we appreciate the preparations made for this conference by the LOC and the Avcnu. The LOC is chaired by our dynamic and able Deputy Vice Chancellor, that is Professor Kayode Adekeye, and his vibrant team. Let's appreciate them. We look forward to a great conference. I implore everyone to make maximum contributions to ensure the success of this program as a remarkable and landmark event. Our expectation is that at the end of this conference, Avcnu will have produced a blueprint for the revitalization of the Nigerian education system. Your Excellency, our distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chancellor. Can we put our hands together again to celebrate the journey so far? At this point, so that we can save some time, with the Chief Host having formally welcomed Her Excellency in due course, she will be talking to us. But before then, we have two serious charges we are going to have. The first of it is actually the first keynote address. If we are to take off profiling this presenter, we'll take some extra time again. And I know as chief executives, we are always pressed for time. Permit me, therefore, to welcome to the microphone, with all sense of honor and respect, to this humble man, this versatile man, a former vice chancellor in his own right, a prof of no small stature. It's a sheer delight to have met with this current executive secretary of the NUC. And so, ladies and gentlemen, can we welcome to the microphone our dearly beloved professor, the chief executive of NUC. Welcome to the podium, Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid. It can be louder, please. It can be louder, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But it's okay. Leave it. Let me use this. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Osun State, the Chief Host and Chairman of the Avcnu and Chairman of Committee of Vice Chancellors of Private Universities, Professor Debo Adewa, my boss and former Vice Chancellor promoted Registrar of JAM, Professor Oliade, who is nicknamed the chief or the chairman of the snake charmers in Africa. My bosses, former Vice Chancellor OAU, immediate past Secretary General of the CVC Secretariat, my friends and colleagues, Vice Chancellors, spouses of Vice Chancellors, and then Vice Chancellors. Yes, the only thing is where the family's husband and a wife are both Vice Chancellors and they are here, so we don't know who defers to who. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let me first admit that I was wondering what to say to my colleagues. The theme actually has been captured and well treated in the welcome address. This is a welcome address with a difference. But let me start by some appreciations. First, conveying the goodwill of the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, who has been interested in what we are doing here and who some minutes ago called to speak to the host to request him to convey his goodwill and to assure all of us here that he is looking forward to the communique of this and that he stands by the Vice Chancellors in our collective effort to revitalize this system. But we must also thank our host, the Professor Debo Adewa, for this beautiful campus, for the hospitality, reception. You see, honestly, I felt so happy that vice chancellors from all over the country could be trooping to private universities in this country to hold their meetings, something that was not on the agenda 20 years ago. There was no single private university in this country 20 years ago. Today, everybody is impressed by what he has seen. Yesterday, we drove from the airport straight to the campus and moved to the restaurant. You see, I have forgotten, because many of us have forgotten that universities have restaurants that we can take guests and colleagues to eat. So we were so happy that the restaurant here could serve all of us. So we thank you very much for you and your team. We are happy that this conference, we expect an array of quality paper presentations on university education. We are happy that we are here to share experiences on best practices on various aspects of university education. We are also happy that during the next 48 hours or so, we shall have the opportunity for more networking and collaboration amongst us here. You see, let us not just meet and go. Let us, as vice chancellors, engage ourselves in discussions. What do you have? Where can we collaborate? Where can our staff and your staff work together to produce research? Where can we mount a joint PhD program? I mean, let us begin to use this opportunity. As I have said in other places, it doesn't make sense to me when you come to NUC and you are happy to tell me that you have signed 20 MOUs with universities in America, Harvard, Princeton, others. You have signed 10 MOUs in UK, but you have not signed any agreement with a Nigerian university close to you, very close to you. What kind of collaboration is that? Collaboration, they say charity should begin at home. Let us first begin to collaborate. Now, this is something you all know. I'm just taking us through some little thing on the Nigerian map. Of course, to remind us that we are the most populous country in Africa, that one of every 4 sub-Saharan African resides in Nigeria, but that, just take a look. At independence in 1960, and which is just about 60 years, less than 60 years ago, we were only 42 million people. Today we are almost 200 million people. And in the next 30 years, we shall be over 400 million people in this country. Now, what does this mean? It means a lot to all of us here. As universities, as the leading academics and intellectual elites in the country who should serve as think tanks to help chart a course for this country. We should be worried. We should be concerned about this. We should do everything possible not to allow that statistics to happen. If we can, let us not allow Nigeria to have 411 million people by the year 2050 if we can. How can we do it? I'm coming back to that. Let me simply take us through to some few things. The higher education in Nigeria, which of course started, as we all know, with the establishment of the Yaba College of Technology, what they call the Yaba Higher College in 1932. And later on, by 1945, government constituted the Elliott Committee. You see, this issue of committees and then giving the name Elliott Committee, we don't know who the other members were, but we know it's Elliott Committee. That's why I have rechristened my own committee, the Okebokola Committee. Yes, the Okebokola. So the Elliott Committee in 1945 offered some advice, some suggestions that led to the establishment 3 years later of the University College in Ibadan in 1948 as a college of the University of London. But then later on, just before independence, government constituted another committee, the Ashibi Commission, in 1959. And it was that commission that advised on the kind of the needs and the expansion, the number, the types of universities, the locations of universities that the country will require at independence. And that followed in 1960. Nsukka University came up as a full-fledged university. And 2 years later, in 1962, 4 more universities came on board. One, the Federal University in Lagos, and then Ibadan as a college was upgraded as another federal university in Ibadan. Then 2 more regional universities, one in Ife and one in Zaria, ABU Zaria. So these constituted, within the first 2 years of our independence, Nigeria had 5 universities. 8 years later, University of Benin was created, and together, even though they are 8 years older than Benin, but Benin was elevated, and we begin to call these 6 as the first generation universities. And they are all owned by either the federal government or the 4 regional governments of the East, in Nsukka, the Midwest, we have the Benin, the West had Ife, the North had ABU Zaria. But in 1975, something happened that affected university education in this country. The regional universities in Zaria, Ife, and Nsukka were taken over by the federal government, and they all became federal universities. So by 1975, all universities in the country were owned by the federal government. And then between 75 and 77, the second generation universities came on board. 7 universities were created between that period. And these universities, one in Port Harcourt, one in Calabar, and then one in Ilorin, then Jos, then Kano, Sokoto, and Maiduguri. So these 7 universities became the 7 sisters, as they call them. And together with the first 6 universities, these were the 13 universities that generally shaped and were shaping the education landscape in this country. In 1979, we had a new intervention. The government allowed the establishment of state-owned universities from 1979. And that's where we started, from the River State University of Science and Technology, and we now got more universities in OOU, the Olabisi Onabanjo, with the LASU in Lagos, and the ECPOMA, and so on. And all these universities continued, more universities continued to be established until 1999, when the real, not evolution now, but revolution came. The licensing of the first private universities. So that's why we're saying 20 years ago, there was not a single private university, but in 79, 4 universities were granted licenses. Igbinidian, Babcock, and Madonna, as well as Heritage in Kaduna. Heritage never took up. Since then, and up till today, it didn't take up. The other 3 were soon followed by others. Today, as I speak with you, and as you know, we have a total of 164 universities in the country. 42 are owned by the federal government. At least something interesting, as I keep saying, is that if there is federal character in citing universities, the federal government has done that. There is 1 federal university in each and every state of this federation, and 1 in the federal capital, making 37 universities. There's the Open University in Abuja, but with study centers all over. And the father and the grandfather of the Open University is here, Professor Peter Okebokola. He is the chairman of the Council of the Open University. We have 47 universities owned by the 36 states in the Federation. Every state in this country, at least as of today, has at least 1 university. We pressurize many of them to say, please invest in education. 47. Some states have more than 1. Some have 2. Some have 3. I believe Ogun has 3. Ondo has 3. Ekiti has 2. Oyo and Oshun have 1.5 each. Yes, 1.5. In fact, this morning when I came, I saw a vice chancellor, the only vice chancellor with 2 visitors. I met him here, and I asked him, I said, how are you managing 2 visitors? Some have 2, Edo has 2, Imo has 2, Rivers has 2, Bayelsa has 2, and many more are coming. We are encouraging many more, for many more universities to come on board. Now, with this growth of universities, of course, so many people call me sometimes to say, why are you allowing more universities in Nigeria? We have too many universities. I say, well, I'm sorry, sir, we do not have enough universities. We should continue to encourage the establishment of more universities in this country. We do not have enough. 164 universities in this country are far too few. If you compare us with a country like Bangladesh that has over 1,200 universities and is a fairly poor country. If you compare us with a country like Argentina with just 29 million people or 30 million people that have also over 1,000 universities. We are not just talking about the number, but this is, I mentioned this number because people are not used to. People, I say possibly for elders whose students have all graduated, who have no pressure about admission, who have no pressure about people going to school, they may have the luxury of saying there are too many universities. But for many of us and those coming on board will not say that. And the chief, I think the first time I heard Oliade described as executive registrar, because he thought a former vice chancellor should not be promoted registrar. And at the rate he's going, he may be promoted to Basa from here and next and so on. Now, when I came on board some 2 years ago as ESNUC, first thing I did with my management was to say, look, we must initiate a reform process of our universities. We must reform. But first and foremost, why the reforms? Why must we reform? I say, one, we must make universities more relevant by realigning them with the national development and global competitiveness. Certainly, universities will continue to be irrelevant if we do not align ourselves to the Nigerian national needs and to the global needs. Two, more specifically, I say every aspect of our lives in this world is being shaped, affected by forces of globalization. You cannot, the way we live in our houses, the way we relate with our children, the way we relate with our friends and colleagues are being shaped by these forces of globalization. The telephone, the internet, the TVs, everything. Look at when we were young, we all had teams, Inugu Rangers, Kano Pillars, it was the Raka Rovers, the Shooting Stars, the stationery stores of Lagos and so on. Today, everybody is hooked to football teams in UK, the English Premier League. They can mention the name of every player in England, in all the 20 clubs, in La Liga in Spain, in Bundesliga in Germany, in Serie A, in Italy, and this. Everybody is in. These are aspects of the globalizations affecting us, affecting the way we think. So, whether we like it or not, as Nigerian universities, we have to begin to think of producing graduates for the global needs. Not just graduates who will work in Nigeria. Today, every university here should be thinking of graduates who may secure employment outside. After all, if you take one area in medicine, in the last 8 months, about 1,000 medical doctors have moved out of this country, working now in 46 different countries, some in Africa, some in Europe. Now, many of these have come from different graduates. So we are producing graduates who may not necessarily remain with us. There was a time when we were only graduating for our local communities. We started now graduating for the national. Today, whether we like it or not, we have to consider the forces of globalization. And then, of course, whether we like it or not, again, reform became imperative to enable us address the key challenges of access, quality, and relevance. Access. Why do we talk of access? If you go to the next, the demographic challenges, we have already shown how Nigeria's population has been growing from 42, 60 years ago, to almost 200 million today, and that it's going to double in about 30 years. We are going to go above 400. Now, these demographic challenges impose some serious challenges on ourselves as university managers. And I'm quite sure my boss Professor Peter Okibokola is going to talk more about this when he comes to give his paper. But we are worried as NUC and as Vice Chancellors about the way we refuse to implement plans in this country, strategic plans or national plans in this country. This country started with a number of plans for 4 years or 5 years in the past. We did the first National Development Plan, second National Development Plan, third National Development Plan, then things died down. And then everybody was going, and we have been told many times ago that if you want to fail, if you plan to fail, they say just fail to plan. So as a country, we know of the Vision 2010, we know of the Vision 2020. Nobody is pursuing this. There is the Africa AU Vision Africa 2063. In Nigeria here, nobody is talking about it. The 2050, in fact, all these demographics we are talking about Nigeria's population, you get to know more about it outside Nigeria than inside Nigeria. Here in Nigeria, nobody seems to care. So if we as leaders of our universities do not care and do not do this, who will care? But then, I also want to remind us that we are forced to go into reforms by the Honorable Minister of Education when he inaugurated his own ministerial action plan. And one of the chapters there, chapter 8, is on tertiary education and charging all of us in the Ministry of Education to ensure that we stop doing business as usual. That's why Oluyede started to bring back money to government. 7 billion last year, 7.6 billion this year. This is part of the reform going on. In our universities, we don't have enough money to take back to government. In fact, if Oluyede had told you, we would have gone to government and said, please, Oluyede has money to return, but NUC needs that money. We would have taken that money and do this reform. But I want to say this ministerial action plan, and I hope to make it available to every Vice Chancellor to go through, because this captures the vision of the present government on education, from formal to non-formal, from basic to university education. We formulating the reform strategies. When we were satisfied that we just had to reform, if we refuse to, we will just be sentencing ourselves into oblivion, into irrelevance in this country. First, we held several management retreats with the NUC for 3 days, for 1 week, asking questions. Well, first we reformed our commission. We carried out some few realignments, some reprofiling of the staff. We did this. But more importantly, we took the decision to constitute an advisory committee. We realized that within the NUC, we didn't have all the expertise to advise. We realized that some diamonds and golds in terms of academic or intellectual deposits are existing outside, and they will be willing to advise us and advise the country and advise the universities. And first, we approached one of Africa's most celebrated intellectuals, Professor Peter Okibokola, to get him to accept to chair this committee, which he gladly did. And next we say, okay, in composition, let us try and be gender sensitive. Let there be 3 female academics, 3 male academics to accompany Professor Peter Okibokola, who will pretend to be on both sides. We We got Professor Ruqayya Rufai, former Minister of Education. We got Professor Gambola Raba Abdullahi, former Minister for Women Affairs, who was a former Vice Chancellor of Abuja. And then we got Professor Aize Obayan, a former Vice Chancellor of Covenant University, a former Vice Chancellor of Landmark University. We say, please join Professor Okebokola and brainstorm and help us. We also got Professor Fobarade, Professor Nimi Briggs, and Professor Atahiru Jega, immediate past INEC chairman, who was my vice chancellor. I served under him as his deputy vice chancellor. And we got the three of them to join the three distinguished female professors to work with Okebokola. And believe me, that has made all the difference. It has made all the difference. If we were to download and print the correspondences among these 7 people in the last 8 months, believe me, it will have to be carried not in wheelbarrows, but in caterpillars and trucks. Every single day, even this morning, I'm sure as we speak now, one of them is talking about this, one is there every day. They got interested. They helped us to be a kind of build a bridge between the NUC and the universities, contacting them directly and giving us back, and we also telling them, okay, this is what we want, what do we do? These people were now supplemented by a team of 7 from within the NUC. We selected Professor Chiedu Mafiana, who is leaving office. He's on his terminal leave from the NUC. Dr. Suleiman Rahman Yusuf, Dr. Biodun Salu, Dr. Gidado Kumo, Dr. Esther Adeshina, Chris Meyaki, and then Joshua Atta. We say, look, work directly with these people while we continue to receive reports on what to do. I would not like to bother you much. The terms of reference, you all know what we gave them to advise the NUC on its repositioning, to guide the NUC in the development and implementation of a strategic plan for the Commission, to advise the NUC on the programs and projects that will enhance its quality or the quality of university education in Nigeria, to offer strategic guidance to NUC in the implementation of flagship projects such as curriculum review, ranking of universities, data for university education planning and policy development, development of policy briefs, research policy, internationalization policy, staff training policy, among others, and many other issues. And then to offer technical support for the development of concept paper and so on, and to undertake any other tasks that may be assigned to it by the Executive Secretary. Now, these are the terms of reference we gave this committee. And let me state here one thing, which is this committee has never made a demand, a financial demand to NUC. They have never made a financial demand. This committee is not a consultancy firm asking for money from NUC in order to do this. The committee ab initio decided, they say this is the time to pay back to this community that has made them. They are all distinguished professors of Nigerian universities, all of them except Professor Ruqayya Rufai. All the external members have been vice chancellors or executive secretaries of NUC, like Okebokola himself. And Ruqayya, the only one who was not a vice chancellor, had been commissioner for education for years and had been minister for education for about 4 years, and so on. So all of them decided to say, look, we are doing this because we also believe in the imperative of the reform at this time. And we have to work together to save the Nigerian university system, and we have to work together to help the Nigerian nation. So it is still baffling how people will be putting in. If we were to pay them, believe me, our budget, the capital budget we receive from government will not be enough to pay for the services, but they are doing it simply because of their passion and the commitment to education. Please, thank you very much, Professor Okebukola. Thank you for what you have been doing. Now, some of the deliverables we have started seeing, only some, because we have lined up so many. One, the State of University Education 2017, which has been circulated and which we are now working on the e-copy to ensure that working with the Amazon and so on to get it on sale across the world, and to get it also uploaded into the Commonwealth of Association of Commonwealth Universities and the Commonwealth of Learning, UNESCO, and all other issues to take this, because the commitment is there to say every year, at the end of the first quarter of every year, the NUC, on the advice of our committee, will produce the state of the university education of the previous year and publish it, both the e and the hard copy. So very soon we shall start working on the 2018. By the end of this year, we shall write to you to say update your interests. And for those that are new or have failed to meet up with the deadline last year, please be there. Because as I told some of the vice chancellors, if you are not in that book, you are not existing as a university, as far as the international community and our governments and so on are concerned, because we have circulated that book to every governor, to every minister, to every embassy, and to every international partners. And as far as they are concerned, that's the authentic, and it is the authentic state of education in the country. So we call on universities that are not there to start preparing for 2018, because before the end of this year, we shall send in. We are only going to modify the statistics aspect. We need more breakdowns on the statistics. We want to know actually how many professors or academics are there in one particular discipline, say in mechanical engineering, how many are female, how many are male, so on there in any of these. So we want to also come up with many other variables in this. The second deliverable is the blueprint, which actually is the main driver. The blueprint on rapid revitalization of university education. The main driver of our reform is that blueprint. That blueprint, you know, we have discussed with the vice chancellors. We've got your inputs. We have effected some modifications to the blueprint. We have taken it to the board of NUC. We have gotten the support of the board of NUC, and now we are preparing it for the final round of the validation session. Before the end of this year, in the next, hopefully by October or November, we shall convoke a large stakeholders meeting to finally take a final look at that blueprint, because that is what we believe in to drive us in the next 5 years. And it is the document we are using. We will now negotiate with the government, with the World Bank, with some other funding agencies like DFID to help fund aspects of that, to implement that blueprint. Of course, they have already delivered the 2017 Statistical Digest for Nigerian universities. We have also started printing or publishing a number of monographs. 3 have already been published. 2 I think 2 will soon be published within the next one. And I am opening it now up to everybody, every vice chancellor, every university, that you think you have a manuscript that can be called a monograph in a very important, any important aspect of higher education that you think should be shared. NUC will take it, hand it over to our committee, review it, and if approved, we shall publish it and cause it to be circulated, because we believe knowledge must be produced, circulated, digested, and so that's the only way we can. So we now open it. I expect many vice chancellors to please contact NUC or contact the Okebokola committee with their proposals for manuscripts, so that more and more will come in. The other one is a directory of full professors in the Nigerian university system. This is now, it had been completed. The only thing is the printing. And before the middle of next month, it will be out. We are printing thousands of copies. We are aware that it does not capture the full list, but there is no way it can at any time, because partly our attitude, people are not serious until an issue is closed. When the advert has gone out inviting professors to please join and do, most professors didn't care. Some did, and somehow promoted themselves. Some who are senior lecturers fill the form and say they are professors. Some are associate professors, say they are professors. When we sent it back to the vice chancellors, we thank many of you by cancelling A, B to say no, this is not, or this has only become a professor in 2017, end of 2018, this year. So he couldn't be in 2017. Now, we thought from our estimates, we would have about 9,000 professors in Nigerian universities. We end up now with about 3,000 plus in this directory. But we also now believe that we don't seem to have more than double this number, because many professors have succeeded in cloning themselves, in duplicating themselves, and appearing in 5 or 6 universities, each university giving us the names. One professor will be serving in University A, the same name appears in University B, the same name appears in C. So when our system checks, it now raises the flag, a white one, not a red one, and says this guy appears in 3 or 4 places. So we have to cancel. From about 5,000 entries, we ended up with just about 3,000 final entries now. But again, like the State of University Education, we shall soon call out. By the end of this year, we shall call out for the 2018 version of this. So those who are here, they may still update their CVs, they may still write their own short biographies, and then the new ones will be captured. You see, this is going to serve very useful purposes. We know the system, and many universities and many people are promoting themselves professors outside the university system. No, I mean, I'm very serious, because when you see one trend happening in Nigeria, if nothing is done, it will continue. People are not satisfied by being honorary doctors. They are now becoming honorary professors. And so many people now will just begin to do. So when we are satisfied by next year that we have captured all the serious people there, we will tell the government and all the universities and everybody internationally that anybody whose name is not here is not a professor. If he claims to be one, don't accept that. So we want to have this for the first time. NUC, the vice chancellors will not need to I think this is the second thing we may likely do. We may begin to arrange the professors in future according to their disciplines. The professors according to their disciplines. A vice chancellor will not require the deans to nominate professors for assessment of other professors. You will not require deans or HODs to nominate external examiners. You can take the directory and you open biology, under biology, water aspect, the parasitology side, and you can open, and you know who are professors. You can even glance through and see, and you can select the ones you want to select. So this is going to ensure greater credibility in what we do, greater transparency in the way we run the system, and ultimately it will save us from the quacks, those who simply have been promoting themselves. And there are very many, believe me, they are in hundreds, those who were never appointed professors by any university in this country, and they are calling themselves one. So, well, issue, I will not bother you. Oh, sorry. The next is just on the issues of the blueprint, why many of the things that you know, problems of Nigerian university system, the inadequacies in facilities, the inadequacies in teaching, the deficits in teacher quality and quantity. Now, this is one thing we are even now thinking. Is this true? These gaps, are they really genuine? Because we now begin to realize that some universities are overstaffed. Some universities are understaffed. But even within a university, some faculties are overstaffed. Some faculties are understaffed. Within a faculty, some departments are overstaffed. Now, some are understaffed. Many of our colleagues, and I can say it here and I can say it anywhere, many professors in Nigerian universities do not have more than 2-hour engagement in a week in their universities. Full-time engagement. They don't have more than 2 hours. I can say it anywhere, I can defend it. Many. On paper, some of them may have 6 hours, but they have already outsourced that to the assistant lecturers and the graduate assistant working under them. So that's why some professors can afford to be professors in 5-6 universities, moving all over. In the process, many things suffer. One, mentoring of our young academics suffers. The professor is not on seat. How will the young academic learn? Supervision of postgraduate training suffers. Our PhD theses are badly supervised in general. Very badly supervised in this country because the supervisors have no time to devote to this. They are busy doing this. Yet, if you take, how many hours do we need? Now we are about, I'm sure by October, when we have our next board meeting, we are taking our final proposal to the board on the actual minimum commitments every academic in Nigeria should have. We are now not saying teaching hours because it has been misunderstood. When you say 6 hours of teaching, then a lecturer will just choose a day, Monday, and put all his 6 hours, whether it's convenient for the students or it's not. That's why some of them start teaching from 7 in the morning, teach in the night. They finish Monday, I have done my job. Tuesday, they are in another university. Wednesday, they are in another. Thursday, they are there. And then when there is a ASU strike and there is some money to be given, they say excess workload. I say excess workload for who? Where will you get, have you done the excess work to get what load? Is the load really excessive? (8 in the morning to 3 or 4 in the afternoon for 5 days, almost 40 hours. So we want an academic in a university to have at least half of that, at least 6 of which must be in teaching. The rest, you can have it in lab, you can have it in supervision, you can also take responsibility, because what is happening now is the quality of governance in our universities, especially at the lower level, is suffering because those who are educated, who are matured, refuse to take responsibilities in universities. They wouldn't like to be level coordinators. They would like to be examination officers. They wouldn't like to be deputy deans or sub-deans. They would like to be HODs, many of them, because that will tie them down to work every day. So we are coming up, but I think in the spirit of cooperation and collaboration between NUC and the universities, I think before I take it to my board, I will get it even at the meeting of Avcnu in Parakou. I will come and table it and share it with the vice chancellors, get your comments, get your suggestions, so that once I get the approval on my board, we send it back to you for implementation. So we shall negotiate that. So other issues like the governance deficits, we constituted a committee under a former executive secretary of NUC, Professor Munzali Jibril. They have just finished going around discussing with private universities, and they are coming up with a governance structure. I'm happy when my friend Professor Debo was talking about the powers of the vice chancellor here in this university and so on. We know very well that we have serious governance issues in almost all the universities. But the major crisis rests more with the private universities, where many of the structures are not allowed at all to function. The university structures. There is a private university where if the VC will be sincere, if I ask him when last the Senate sat, he will have to crack his mind, because it's not this year, it's not last year. It's not even 2 years, 3 years ago. Yet they are awarding degrees. Who awards the degrees? Who awards the degrees? So universities all over the world are run on committee system. They are run on committee systems. The Senate is a committee. The council is a committee. The council itself has committees. The Senate itself has committees. And the management as a committee. And there are various committees of the management. A faculty board is a committee. A departmental board is a committee. This is just to show that decisions are taken after deliberations and so on. That's what makes universities unique, governance of universities unique. So we are addressing that. So all those, some of the issues you all know. And you are also familiar with our strategic goals, the goals from the blueprint captured by the Okeobokola Committee, what we want to achieve. And we really have been very conservative. When you say you just want a 20% increase by 2023, in the next 5 years, today we have only 2 million students enrolled in Nigerian universities. The entire Nigerian universities has only a population of 2 million enrollment total, from level 100 through to PhD. We have only 2 million. This is one of the lowest in the world. If you divide it, this is only 1% of our population. 1% only. So we say we hope in the next 5 years we shall get that by 20%. This 20% is a very conservative estimate. If we do the right thing, we may get this by 50%. If more universities come on board, if our economy starts to grow more, if more people have money in their pockets, what Professor Rahman Yusuf called the disposable income, not just you are given salary of 1 million, but already you have tied to that salary of 1 million, you have expenses of 1.1 million. But the disposable income, once it increases, then more people can send their words to private universities and pay gladly Not now where when a university increases tuition fee, people rush to me, sometimes call me in the night. Yes, what are you doing? You allow Nigerian universities are just charging fees. I say, which universities? Private universities. How can they increase fees? I say, well, I don't know. Is it to do with inflation in the country? Is this to do with the cost of running the universities? Is this to do with so many? Then people will just say, I say, well, I don't know. After all, it's voluntary. You can withdraw the child from that university. We have public universities where we charge 30,000 naira. Don't go and pay 2 million somewhere if you don't have the money. But if you agree to pay that 2 million, when they raise it to 2.05 tomorrow, please, I have more important things to do than to come and complain to ES about private universities increasing their fees every time. I say they are there. So we hope, in fact, we even hope that this may be 100% increase. Instead of 2 million, to have 4 million enrollment by the year 2025 is doable. We want to send a team, TETFund and NUC, and I think I will get the Avcnu to visit a number of universities, look at the facilities, because we are so conservative in universities. It's just like, I'm sorry to say, timetabling. The issue of timetable, for example. If you don't change your committee doing timetable for you in your university, if you are a public university, the same committee inherited will be repeating the same, no matter the new structures you bring. The exams will still be held in 4 weeks or in 5 weeks because many rooms will not be captured in the new thing. Lecture halls, some of them will not be properly utilized. And then there is this protectionism. Everybody wants to own and protect. Computer center, every department wants to have its own. Lecture hall, every faculty wants to have its own. There is no resource sharing. People don't want to share the resources. Every hall in a university should be open to share. Just get a timetable for its utilization and so on. So we hope these strategic plans we have given, I mean the strategic goals, particularly the ones on governance, the academic corruption. I'm happy you are talking of the academic corruption because, of course, as you know, one of the goals is that the incidence of academic corruption in Nigerian universities should have reduced by at least 10% and remain on the decline up to 2025. Our major crisis right now is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment. Whether we like it or not, I want to charge the Avcnu at this meeting to make this a priority in the communique. Take a decisive action. The university should be willing to punish, to stamp out these incidences of sexual harassment. It is damaging our collective reputation in this country. We just have to do something. And please, please, say it and do it. And whenever you punish, whenever you sanction somebody, let it be fully advertised. Let the country know that somebody has lost his job or her job because of this, or somebody has been demoted from professor to lecturer 1 because of this, and advertise and let his name or her name be out and tell the world. We in NUC will be helping you. We can be collecting monthly and advertising in all the newspapers to say these are the issues, because we just have to fight this. This is one area of the academic corruption where we are saying if you are we should not be taking advantage of our innocent girls and boys in the universities simply because you have power to award marks. That is not an excuse, please. So finally, let me just go to what I call specific areas of reform. Yes, that is Professor Peter Okibokola, Karen, go back. Yes. carrying an elephant. It's not just an elephant, but look at how he's negotiating, walking on a rope between two mountains. It will be considered an impossibility to say you are going to reform, you are going to save the university system. To many people, they have written us off. Believe me, for those people who are endowed, whose children do not require our universities, or whose children cannot go to universities, for many of them have written us off. Nigerian universities, we are away. But look, already in the last 8 months, we have gone halfway, almost. I'm sure by the beginning of next year, we will cross successfully. Look at the elephant, comfortable, sitting on this very powerful man, Professor Okebokola. Now, these are our specific areas. One, program establishment and nomenclature. We are trying, and this is, in fact, I was discussing with Rahman and our Director of Accreditation, Dr. Noel Salu, yesterday, that our next meetings in the management of NUC, we have to take a definite decision there. We have to allow universities to vary the nomenclature of a program. I mean, why should we insist on uniformity? Why should we insist to say every program must be called X? If you don't do it when you come for accreditation, you say that is wrong. I mean, allow some changes in the nomenclature. So we shall be. Curriculum development, review, and re-engineering, that one we are going. I've just been told that the e-copies have not been sent. Some people are still waiting for the e-copies. We are going to get them sent before the end of this week. We are happy. Let me thank the Vice Chancellors for your input. We still believe that because our committee, we have not, this is an issue, I think in September we shall sit down with the Okebokola Committee and the NUC management to take a final decision on the curriculum structure, which we still believe. You see, our goal and target is that in the next 10 years, if we continue this way, some universities should be allowed to develop their curriculum around them. Nobody in UK, no university in UK, there is nothing like a uniform curriculum in any serious places. So some universities should be allowed to develop their own curriculum. Of course, when we say Redeemers, do your curriculum, Redeemers will not go to the moon and get his curriculum. Redeemers know that it's a university. It will have to, one, get what is international, but also what is national around, and then what is local, very local, what will be the concern. Redeemers may have 1, 2, 3 more GSP courses to do with spirituality, to do with religion, to do with this because of this. But it will not tamper, it will not put those courses as part of the core courses for mathematics, for example. There is mathematics is mathematics, whether you are doing it in Oxford, in Cambridge, or in Redeemers. But Redeemers can say, look, if you subscribe to us, if you come to Redeemers University, because we are a faith-based university, every semester you will have to do a GSP course in something that we believe in, to do with religion. I mean, do it. Every semester, that is a general studies program. But our own curriculum in genomics, our own curriculum in electrical engineering, our curriculum in medicine will not be different from, radically different from curriculum in Ibadan or in Fountain University. So, you know, there is nothing like this. Yes, Fountain University can introduce a course on Islamic medicine, but it will not be a degree. It will just be a course to say some of this. They can offer some of their students and say this. But somebody can also introduce the traditional medicine. After all, we are trying to have a bachelor's degree in witchcraft to follow South Africa. Yes, BA witchcraft, and so on. So we hope this curriculum We agreed, if you remember, under your advice, we should go for about 15% this year. But when we come, we are going to have 15% vacant, where you will fill in your courses, but we are also going to make about 15% optionals, and we'll give you the freedom to still drop some of those optionals and build in your own, if you can build in your own, provided they are within what you do. Let us have a minimum of 60–70% what we may call in general common courses. The commonality is not necessarily even in the nomenclature, but in the content what we care. And this 60–70% should be also common to what is taught outside the country, in India, in Malaysia, in America, in England. If you are studying physics in a degree, you know that you have to do A, B, C, D. Now, once all our curricula has this, the rest, please, you can build in some things specific to you, to your university, to your institution, so that genuinely our candidates can be given more options, so that when they choose University A to read chemistry, not University B, they know what they have chosen for. Not only the different university, but also a different program, because this University A may be focusing on industrial chemistry, and that is its own focus, even though it's going to satisfy the general requirement of others, but this is our main focus, while others may have something different. So this engineering or re-engineering is coming in. Accreditation, we have already started changing. You could see now that in the last 2 years, or in the last 1.5 years, nobody will be punished if you are over, if the pyramid is not well structured at the top. You may have more professors at the top. That is a credit. You will not be punished for getting more professors somewhere, as we were doing before. We are also reviewing the instruments. You see the library now. We made it very clear that today our emphasis is on the e-resources. Before, our people will come to you and say they don't care about your e-resources. They only want to see the hard books. We still believe that a university should have at least a copy each of some hard books. So we still go and look at hard books. But our major issues should be the e-resources and the retrievability, the accessibility to those e-resources. You just don't lock them in the computer and nobody has access to them. So I want to assure you that we are working on the accreditation, again, document, to ensure that we build in, we accept some differences and recognize them. Pedagogical training to bridge the gap between intended and achieved curriculum in NUS. This is very important for us. You know, many of us find ourselves in university teaching by accident. We are just there by accident, either because we cannot go anywhere, or we just are interested, we want to be like somebody else, we just go into university. And many of us end up with no training at all. It's just what you have been doing. For some of us, it's a bit late. But for many others, especially the younger ones, we believe we should continue on this with the pedagogical training. In fact, that is why in the next round of the ACE, we hope 2 of the centers will be on pedagogy. And then we shall be using it to train our teachers. Our teachers are trained for primary and basic education and secondary education. In university, we take the clue, we say, well, we are lecturers, we are not teachers, we don't need training. But at least let us get to know what are those how do we handle large classes? How do we use the technology now to mediate in our teaching? How do we do assessments? How do we mark? I mean, you see, it's funny to say that our assessment system is still very questionable for many universities. Many universities will have this. If we know what is going on, in London Open and the University of London, for the 160 years to date, they have been double marking every single script. Double marking every single script. 2 professors will have to mark, 2 assessors will have to assess, and then an average will be taken, or one will agree with the other. And this is a practice with most British universities, especially at level 3 or level 4 level or master's level. 2 people assess. But here, because one lecturer has the power to fail you even if you are about to score an A, because of either sexual desires, or because he wants to get money from you, or because he simply doesn't like your face, or because he doesn't like your religion, or because he doesn't like, all these do not happen in any serious academic setting. We do not know. Every true lecturer in a university likes an intelligent student, irrespective of the background of that student. You like this. But the way we assess, honestly, we have to think again. I want vice chancellors to think again. And I also want to appeal to my friends in the private universities. Please, let us bring some respectability back to first class. First class has lost its meaning. First class has lost its meaning in Nigeria. We are being embarrassed. 2 weeks ago, I got a team from America, and they told me very embarrassing situation that some Nigerians went to study for masters and they couldn't do it, and they came with first class from some universities. First class has lost its meaning in Nigeria, partly because you tie it down to attraction. The only way people come to your university is because you are graduating first class. And you also know that many students, many companies, oil companies and blue chips companies, only want to recruit first class. So after all, the public universities hardly produce first class. I went to 2 convocations within 1 month last year. One in a private university, graduating 400 plus and students, out of which 167 got first class. I went to another university, graduating 12,000 students with just about 37 first class. Now, of course, I always defend the private universities to some extent. I say, 1, they have few students in class. Where, let me say, in our universities, you have 200 students. A private university may have only 10 students or 15 students in a class. 2, the discipline in the private universities is higher than the discipline in the public universities. Why? Because where a lecturer in public universities can decide on his own to choose when to go to class and when not, because nothing will be done to him. Nobody will do anything to him. In many universities, we do not teach half of the hours we are supposed to teach. If you are to administer questionnaire to our students, evaluation forms, and if they are free to say their minds, they will tell you that half of the time the lecturers are not in class. When they are in class, sometimes they are not ready. The students say they are not very well prepared. In private universities, the good private universities, you can have 95% attendance. Some can aspire for 100%. Everybody will have to be in class. You cannot have an excuse. So that's another second thing, that students can really do better in exams than where people don't care. In private universities, the teacher may be the marker. He may be the assessor. The one who teaches may be the one who assesses. In public universities, some of the professors who teach will dump the scripts on their graduate assistants and say, mark for me. And so the guys will be marking. You remember in one of our key universities some years back, they had to sack a professor whose scripts were found in the students' hostel, being marked by students. She gave students the scripts to mark. Truly, and I don't want to mention the name of the lecturer, because even now I can see the image and the name of the university, the department, the programs, the course. I know it. So this may not happen. So all this show that students in private universities are likely to do better in their final assessments than students in public universities. Of course, there is the other argument that largely the public universities take the best students. The students with 200 plus in JAM, 250, they go to public universities. Many private universities end up taking only those with 110, 120, 140. So again, yes, more likely, the students are more likely to be better there. But again, we know many of us know that the interaction, the quality of the interaction in classroom makes a lot of difference. Somebody can come with 250 in a class. Somebody may come with 100, actually, and 10 and 20. I think one of the universities was telling me how their best student last year was one that came with 160 against people who had come with 250 or something. So you can take students with 140, 150. If the quality of the teaching in class and the interaction is very high, if the students are well motivated by the lecturers, if the resources are available, if they have conquered hunger and they are not on 001, if they are really eating 2 times a day or even 3 times a day, they are more likely to do better than those who have come with high this and so on. So, but still, I appeal to you. The quality of your university should not be judged by the number of the first class you award. 2-1 is still a very honorable degree. And please do it, because very soon we have decided I'm going to constitute different panels to go to universities and get the scripts of a number of first classes from the day they enter to the day they graduate, just to review, to see what we do. Honestly, we are going to do, because we just have to do. If you misjudge one candidate who should graduate with 2-2 and you give him a first class, and that guy goes abroad and disgraces, he's not disgracing himself, this is Nigeria, the whole country, people will say the quality, look at the quality of Nigeria's university, see the kind of first class they give. So please, I appeal to you, Vice Chancellors, to kindly do that. I think the research and innovation, we are, okay, on this pedagogy, last year we organized very successful training with the School of Education in Sussex University. We went to Nile University, about 80 academics drawn from all over Nigeria. They experienced excellent symposium seminar for training program for 1 week. And this year they are coming in the next 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks. Up till yesterday, no Vice Chancellor has sent his nomination for this year. We are appealing to you, try and send 1 or 2, including private universities. Let us begin to develop from capacity building. Research and innovation, I had a meeting last week with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and we are working, just a beginning. We are going to have more meetings with them. Later on, we agreed. We are going to meet with the full leadership of the group and the Vice Chancellors and discuss the issue of getting industries in Nigeria to support really researches in our universities and so on. Relation between universities and affiliate institutions, I sent 40 teams in the last 1 month to go around 85 affiliate institutions. And you see, this is where, again, please, just a minute to advise my friends, the Vice Chancellors of the big universities who have these affiliations. Many of you don't care. University of Ibadan, you have 15 or 16 institutions affiliated to you. Some of them are seminaries. Some of them are colleges of education. And they are awarding degrees, not of their own institutions, but the University of Ibadan. And yes, they are awarding the University of Ibadan degree. The Vice Chancellor signs the degree. Yet, the University of Ibadan doesn't care, doesn't know what is going on. Many of them are not qualified, and we ask, NUC doesn't deal with those affiliate institutions directly. It deals with the mother universities. Yet the universities ignore this. At the end of the day, you may be protecting your home, saying Ibadan is okay, but when a seminary we allow to run a degree in theology and in moral philosophy, behind our backs, introduce computer science, introduce other courses, and then because they are paying some little money to the university, and the Senate ignores that, and the Vice Chancellor ignores that, at the end you will be signing their certificate. They will not go and say we graduated from A. They say we graduated from University of Ibadan. It's UI certificate. All the major universities here have institutions affiliated to them. We don't want to discontinue. We are not saying let them stop, but we say please take more interest in the certificate. Take interest in the credibility of the certificate you sign as a Vice Chancellor and as a Senate to know that yes, that is a deserving certificate. We have 92 of them. We have only visited 85 universities, and it's really revealing. Finally, we are also trying to, part of the reform, the community development. Look, we may be deceiving ourselves if a Vice Chancellor or a university begins to boast that we are the best in Nigeria, we are the best, one of the best in Africa, but the communities around you, you have not done anything to impact on them. The farmers, you may have the best faculty of agriculture in the country or in the continent, but the farmers close to the university are still farming in the same system for 100 years. You have not impacted them, you have not gone to assist them. You have the best medical college, yet you cannot go and open a small clinic or take over a clinic where you send one consultant a week to say let him go to the community and assist the people where you are. Believe me, our relevance should be first and foremost. Let us justify ourselves to our community. Let them know that they are beneficiaries of this. I remember in Kano, I inherited it, and I continue now. I was VC, given scholarships in our primary school, our staff secondary school, to the communities, the rural communities around the university, giving them 20, 30 slots every year. The university paying. So the rural community who benefiting, sitting down together with our own children. The child of a rural farmer near the university sits down with the child of the professor or the vice chancellor in the staff secondary school, and the university paying everything there, including the uniform, the shoes, and the books, to impact on them. And I can come back and say in the last 20 years or 30 years, Bayero in Kano has graduated, sponsored at least 100 graduates from the rural communities where the university is sited. Please, this is one area where I think part of the reform of university education to make us relevant, to make us this, we have to justify ourselves to the community. I thank you again for wasting your time. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, the Executive Secretary, sir, for using your time. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Can we put our hands together again for Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid for the charge on revitalization of university education in Nigeria, an overview. Very quickly, before we invite Our Excellency, we want to, while I ask that, I humbly request the JAMB registrar to be on standby, sir. I will bring you up now shortly. I just want to acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the federal universities, the CVC federal universities, Professor Joe Aneku. You're welcome, sir. The VC of UNIZIC, you're welcome, sir. Some of our other facilitator speakers are also here. Mr. Yogunuruku, you're welcome, sir. Professor Vincent Anigbogu, you're welcome. Thank you very much. So straight away, before our mommy comes up, we want to have a short goodwill message from our distinguished registrar of JAMB on the dynamics of university governance. Welcome with me, Professor Ishak Oloyede. Please, let's put our hands together. It can be better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is impromptu. Your Excellency, the ESNUC, my boss and mentor, Professor Kebukola, my friends, Vice Chancellors. This is impromptu. My presentation is going to be later, and what I'm invited for here is just a goodwill message. I think I'm right, Vice Chancellor. I think I'm right, yes. So my presentation will come as it is on the agenda, but let me start by congratulating not just the Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities under the leadership of the Acting Secretary General, Mr. Adigun. I want to congratulate you, but not just you. I'm congratulating this very university for hosting, beautiful university, for hosting this conference. And it's a tradition that we met, that we have Committee of Vice Chancellors and AVCNU meeting annually. And the fact that it's continuous is a happy note for us, because those of us who had passed through that level, the fact that it has not died means that there are living people holding the banner. I congratulate you once again. I also want to seize this opportunity to let you know that this year, for the first time, you have a bulky letter as 2018 guideline for admission. I don't think you have ever had a letter that is as big as that. We have deliberately made it a paper for you to read. I think it contains more than 30 pages. The intention is to give you everything we think you need to know about 2018 admission. Please study these admission guidelines very well, and I'm available for comments and questions. You are also aware that we have introduced IBAS this year. IBAS is meant to ease your governance of the university. IBAS that you want to change, just as the ESNUC had rightly said. We do not need to take up the responsibility of the Senate of a university. A Senate should be a Senate. You decide what to do, subject to reasoning. And that is why we have introduced IBAS. You want to change your condition, you want to change your qualification, you want to change your waiver, you don't need to come to Abuja. All you need to do is to go to IBAS. We used to have this. Please remove it and put this. Simple. We used to ask for chemistry for this course. We no longer require chemistry. You will copy what you used to have, paste it there, and put the new thing you want to have. Once we look at it and it does not violate any law, it does not violate any guideline of the NUC, it's automatically approved. You don't need to come to Buhari. CAPS. We are also using caps because we believe admission does not need to be as torturous as it had been. You can stay, but many of us are still waiting for end of the admission process. Admission, you can do it instrumentally. Do your admission 2, 3, 4, 5 because it's automated. You do not need to wait for the long list before you complete the admission. And recently, we must thank you for participating in our webinar. We conducted the webinar. For the first one, 1,007 persons participated. The last one, 1,500 participants from across the universities participated, for which we are very grateful. The next webinar we are going to conduct, we envisage we will have about 5,000 participants from across the universities. But mind you, for IBAS, 2 persons are authorized. 2 persons are authorized. The first person is what we call the initiator. From our own point of view, it should be director of academic planning, because that's the gateway. But if you choose to make it your admission officer or your registrar, I don't care. But the vice chancellor is the second person. The reason is that we cannot admit anything from any university and the vice chancellor would say, I don't know. I've seen cases of letters written by registrars, and when you send it to vice chancellor, is this reasonable? The vice chancellor will say, I did not know. The registrar did not tell me why writing you that letter. That's why, because of the sensitivity of academic programs, vice chancellors must sign. That is why we gave the second pass to the vice chancellor. And I've seen some of you delegating it to deputy vice chancellor, to dean to do. I believe it's not the right thing to do, because whoever uses that second pass is the vice chancellor, whether you are doing it directly or. And the ES spoke about inclusiveness. Inclusiveness. Please, I want to appeal to us. We want to be international, but let us be national first. Let every institution, every university be able to say, I cover all states of the federation, even if you are owned by a local government. Please make sure you have at least one student from each state of the federation. That will enrich the quality of education that you are giving to your children, your students. They will be able to say, oh, I have a friend in Bayelsa, I have a friend in Sokoto, and so on and so forth. Not localization of otherwise national institutions. I'm appealing to you. Bayelsa and Sokoto states, they are the worst victims, where most of you don't have students from. Bayelsa and Sokoto states. I want to appeal to you. Talk to people and bring people, and we are ready to accept waivers for you. When these people did not apply to you, but in your bid to be national, you get one student from that place or the other, we will immediately facilitate the change of that student to your university for the purpose of admission. I also want to appeal to us about affiliation. I use University of Ilorin and University of Ibadan as an example, because nobody can accuse me of being unfair to them, because I'm part of those universities by virtue of my career. University of Ibadan has Federal College of Education, Abeokuta, as an affiliate. And University of Ibadan will tell you, nobody is admitted to University of Ibadan unless you score 200. And that same university is asking me to accept for degree, not for NCE, for degree, that will be degree of the University of Ibadan. The certificate is certificate of University of Ibadan. For Adeyemi College of Education and for Oshiele 150, 160. And I say no. There is nothing bad in Ibadan saying my cutoff is 150. When you say your cutoff, what that means is that your lowest. But you can't tell people that your lowest is 200 when you are admitting 150 to Adeyemi and Oshiele. So the best thing to say is that be bold enough to say my cutoff is 150. They say on our main campus the cutoff is 200. That's not acceptable. You must have one cutoff because you have one certificate, and that certificate does not reflect the name of the other institution. Or the University of Ilorin, where somebody will say our cutoff is 180, but you now write to the Vice Chancellor, those of our remedial students we admit 120. Your cutoff is 120. Your minimum is 120 because those people are going to the degree program. You must be bold enough to say your cutoff is 120. I've used those two universities because nobody can accuse me, as I've said. It is happening in many other universities that I don't want to mention here because I can be accused of prejudice. But you know I love those two universities intensely. I'm alumnus of the two universities, so there is no reason for me to want to damage the bad name of those universities. So I believe that what is important for us as vice chancellors is to make sure that when we leave, people will not make us leave. I want to call your attention to one fact that you may not note. Professor Rashid came here and talking glowingly about Professor Okebukola, a former ES of NUC. A former ES of NUC, his predecessor. And he's talking glowingly about him, giving him assignments to do. Why? For two reasons. One is that there is no dispute about the quality of Professor Okebukola. Everybody acknowledges it. The second thing is that Professor Rashid is also good. If he is bad, he will be thinking that calling his predecessor to come and work for him is an acceptance of inadequacy. It takes a very good person to identify a good person to work for him. So instead of quarreling with your predecessors, every time you look for reason to quarrel with your predecessor, you think that you cannot shine until you damage your predecessor. It doesn't work. You can see what is working for the NUC, and it can work for you. All those who are engaging in destroying their predecessors, saying everything bad is by your predecessor, you will soon realize that as soon as you finish, you will even have no name to be damaged. Because your predecessor has a name, that's why you are damaging it. But you will end up not having a name. Once again, I congratulate you and I wish you a success.
Well, thank you very much, sir, the registrar. We see. Well, it's a goodwill message. Wait, mommy is here to come up. Don't worry. That's. Yes, at the appropriate time, erudite Professor, the registrar, will still come up for his lead paper 1. But this is meant to just be a goodwill message. So, thank you very much, sir, for those observations. We want to, before I call up mommy, to give like a minute, with due respect, the CVC chairman for Federal Universities a minute to just do a goodwill, there's a comment. And after that, Chairman State Universities, Professor Nala, you also come on. Again, that's the VC of Unizik himself.
Your Excellency, the representative of the Governor of Osun State, the Deputy Governor of Osun State, our boss, the ESNUC, our boss, the Registrar of JAM, our very distinguished paper presenters, very distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, I want to, on behalf of the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Federal University, congratulate our hosts, the VC of Redeemers University, for hosting well and for bringing us to Ede Town. For some of us, this is like an excursion. And that is the way to discover and rediscover ourselves. I know that today we've listened to our great people that are propagating the core values of our enterprise, the ESNUC and the JAM Registrar. They've all passed through the crucible. They are now at different levels, managing and ensuring that the national university system is taken to greater heights. I'm convinced that this gathering that will deal with all those things that are challenging us, that are confronting us, and that we will now go home to continue to build for a better Nigerian university system, for our individual universities, and for the good of our nation, Nigeria. I thank all of us for finding time to be part of this event, and God will continue to see us through for the remaining 2 days that we have to stay here. Thank you, and may God bless all of us.
Thank you very much, Prof. As he steps down, can we use the same ovation to welcome to the microphone the representative of the Chairman State Universities.
Excellency, the representative of the Governor of Osun State, who is also the Deputy Governor of Osun State, Executive Secretary of NUC, the Executive Registrar of JAM, the former Executive Secretary of NUC has seated, former General Secretary of the Association of Nigerian Universities, distinguished guest speakers who are here, Vice Chancellors and staff of universities, Nigerian universities. I just want to say that today what we witness is a moment of truth. The speech, the exceptionally brilliant speech by the Executive Secretary, and what followed from the Executive Registrar of JAM, as far as I'm concerned, can be termed as moment of truth. Truth is constant, though bitter sometimes. On behalf of state universities, I want to welcome you here. I want to give an encouragement and a congratulations to University, Sister University, Redeemers University. But I must say that if we are really sincere about revitalizing Nigerian universities, university education, we must embrace this truth. We must. And we must come out from here determined to do whatever it takes to get back our universities to where it must belong. The truth is that it's very shameful when full professors are no longer professing. It's very shameful when people are taking degrees that do not worth their names. It's very shameful when universities are not making impact directly in local communities in our nation. It's very shameful when each time we talk about development, sometimes we run abroad. Universities must be the engineer for national development, and we have to now embrace revitalization as a project to make this happen. Every word that has been spoken so far has embraced this truism, and I hope that we'll live here championing it individually at the universities. I want to commend, last year it was Kwara State University that hosted you, and I am happy that you kindly came. Thank you so much for being supportive of Kwara State University. This year I say, my great brother, the president of Avcnu, thank you for hosting us. All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. The VC Kwasu. At this point, the point we've been waiting for, in a little while I will bring in up Our Excellency. And so I want the gentlemen engaged with setting the place up to please do that. Let me, in the interim, before that is set, quickly announce that please, the conveniences are near us here. We have at the backs, and we have a few ones in the front, please. It's my honor at this point to invite to the microphone Our Excellency, who is standing in for His Excellency the Governor of this state. Welcome to the microphone, the Deputy Governor of the state, Chief Mrs. Titi Laoye Tomori. The anthem will go when she's standing there.
Kindly be seated. Thank you very much. I don't think it's working. I think this is... Thank you. To Almighty God be the glory. I appreciate the eternal Rock of Ages, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, our Father in heaven. May the name of the Lord Jesus Christ be exalted forever. It is indeed a privilege for me to stand before you this afternoon representing Governor State of Osun, Ogbeni Abdurauf Adesoji Aregbesola. It sends its goodwill message, and I will read it shortly. But before then, I would like to acknowledge the presence of some distinguished personalities here this afternoon. I will start with the host Vice Chancellor, and that's Professor Debo Adeyewa. Please appreciate him. An erudite scholar who is always thinking out of the box. We really appreciate the way you have turned the face of this university around. The Registrar Jam is here, Vintage Oloyede himself, Professor Isaac Oloyede, an academician that has written his name in gold for transparency and integrity. We really appreciate you. You make the academics proud. We thank you for what you're doing in JAM. Also, we have the privilege of having the Executive Secretary, NUC, here. How do I describe Prof? Thank you, sir. You are simply great. With you, we know that definitely the Nigerian university education system will change for the good. And I pray that when I grow up and become a professor, I will speak like you. Because while you were delivering your speech, you caught all of us with rapt attention. We were all focused on you, and we picked every single word that came out from your mouth. Thank you very much. Thank you. Also, we have here with us the Acting General Secretary of Avcnu, Mr. Adigun. Please appreciate him. The Chairman, CVC, Federal University, Professor Joe Aheneku is here. Thank you for that powerful speech, very short and appropriate. Also, we have the Acting Chairman, CVC, State University, Professor Bandele. We thank you. At this point, permit me to appreciate the Vice Chancellor with the two visitors. He's here with us. That's the Vice Chancellor of LAUTECH. Please appreciate this erudite scholar. Is an outstanding leader and is performing wonders at LAUTECH despite the challenges. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Also, we have the local organizing committee chairman here, Professor Kayode Adekeye. We thank you for putting this together. You've done so wonderfully well. The former executive secretary of NUC is here. There's only one Okebukola in Nigeria. That rings a bell. We appreciate you. We thank you. We're looking forward to you presenting that great report that will really revitalize and transform university education in Nigeria. Well done. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Also, permit me to appreciate all the members of Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities that are here. We appreciate all of you. We thank those of you that found time to be here. You are just great. The immediate past Secretary General of Avcnu is here, and the former Vice Chancellor of OAU, our own Professor Michael Faborodi. We thank you. All resource persons, I want to appreciate you. The conference committee members, we appreciate you for putting this together. All participants here today, distinguished personalities here present, security operatives, gentlemen of the press. I read the speech of the Governor, State of Osun, Ogbeni Abdurrauf Adesoji Aregbesola. I'm particularly delighted to be here this afternoon, having been so generously honored by the Association of Vice Chancellors to grace its 33rd conference as distinguished guest of honor and to deliver a goodwill speech. I appreciate the kind gesture and I thank you for having me. I congratulate the host university, the vibrant and the burgeoning citadel of learning, Redeemers University, Ede. And I welcome all the participants, vice chancellors, an array of the creme de la creme of the Nigerian academia to this unique conference with a relevant and forward-looking theme, revitalizing of Nigerian university education. Indeed, the theme is not only captivating, but also attests to the fact that universities in Nigeria remain committed to the reason for their establishment and continued existence. The occasion of planned conferences such as this provide us with a unique opportunity to reflect rigorously and attempt to scrutinize the performances of our universities vis-a-vis the goals and objectives of their establishment. Indeed, it is incumbent on the stakeholders to summon the courage to ask pertinent and relevant questions about the university based on the principle of necessity and relevance. This can only be done through the constant and periodic review of academic performances of the universities vis-a-vis the demand of the labor market and national development in general. It is a credible and tested means of ensuring that the universities are tuned to the needs of the society where they are located, and also guarantee every institutional renewal of these citadels of learning on a consistent basis. Against this background, I charge the Redeemers University, for example, to look around the state of Osun and Nigeria as a country and develop education curricula that will address identified problems. This is the only way the support for establishment of more universities by our most revered Professor Rashid, the Executive Secretary of NUC, can be justified. According to my light, revitalizing university education can only suggest an attempt to re-examine and reevaluate the total university education curricula with a view to rejigging the contents and the delivery so as to match or align with the objective reality of our societal needs. For an instance, the following questions will appear appropriate. Are the programs and activities of the Nigerian universities still in tune with the goals and objectives set ab initio when established? If so, is the performance profile of these universities satisfactory? Further still, how relatively integrated are the goals and objectives of each university with the needs and yearning of the people within and around the community or society where the universities are located? Put differently, is the university functionally relevant in proffering solutions to the multifaceted problems of the society today? After all, the university is expected to be part of the solution and not part of the problems in our society. In our universities, are we manufacturing knowledge? Are we breaking new grounds in researches? Can we conveniently say that our university education has universal appeal? One issue that has become cancerous to the university system in Nigeria today is disruptive unionism. I know that in your various institutions, this is a very daunting challenge you are facing, and therefore can relate well with me on this issue. Organizing for collective demand, begging, and action is a constitutional guaranteed right. We must, however, begin to ask if the medicine is not too strong for disease. A situation where the medicine is killing the patient is serious enough to call for concern by all. Industrial actions have promoted a culture of indolence, paralysis, and unearned income at workplace. Many staffers are simply looking for the next opportunities to stay away from work so that they can be able to attend to their personal interests. For the university system, this is double jeopardy. One, productive hours are lost, and secondly, the wrong values of laziness and entitlement are imbibed and internalized by the students. When they graduate, these become self-replicating. There's no way we can build good and patriotic citizens out of this conundrum. I'm sure you are all following developments at LAUTECH, that is Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso, where we have 2 visitors, because the university is jointly owned by Oyo and Osun states. It is the desire of the owner states to position the university as a top center of academic excellence, but we cannot do it as it is now. To demonstrate our seriousness, we empaneled a visitation to the university and further asked a technical committee to review the report of the panel. A major recommendation is that the institution finds a way to generate revenue from other sources. Our concern, which should be your concern too, is the issue of funding universities today. Indeed, funding tertiary institutions in Nigeria. We cannot continue with the past conventional method of relying on subventions and tuition fees. The universities themselves must deploy their resources to think through a way out of this old intellectual lazy method. We must face the reality. No state has enough resources to fund a university adequately, except we want to continue to live in denial. The universities must innovate, cut waste through leakages and bloated workforce, apply best practices and cutting-edge management practices, raise funds from other sources, and find a way to market their intellectual products. This is the direction we are taking LAUTECH, and I believe it is the right thing to do. Continued resistance to this can only arrest the journey, and those who continue to resist should be held responsible, not the governments of the 2 states. Without preempting your debates and discourse, I'm very sure that these and many more questions and issues will be addressed by your conference. For it is only when answers to all the questions I've raised and similar ones are positive and satisfactory that we can conveniently say that we have functional university in Nigeria. To achieve this, you must be prepared to shatter stereotypes, and this is why your conference is very unique and timely. Let me leave you with the words of President Kennedy, and I quote him: "Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education." End of quote. J.F. Kennedy. I thank you all for your kind attention, and I thank you for listening to me. I wish you a successful conference. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Excellency, can we put our hands together again for Our Excellency, please? Thank you very much. And thank you for making it so beautifully short, concise. We quickly want to, all right. Because we know Our Excellency is also pressed for time, I want to ask all our distinguished guests from the front row to lead us out to have the group photograph, after which we will go for the tea break, and then we'll go out. The exhibition stands are upstairs. While the tea break is on, one of our special presenters will come here, but we want to take the group photograph now because of Our Excellency, so that we usually do it out there. Is clearer. We have clearer picture take at the staircase just outside there. So please.
I was thinking they will see the
all right. Okay. The dignitaries, please. Can we come here up stage? Please, we take the group photograph. The tea break is inside here. The two sides here, closest to this stage, is where you have the vice chancellors or their representatives and the spouses. The ones at the back are for other support staff. So it's inside here. But let's take the photograph first, and after that we have this tea break. So it's only with the first row guests that will be here. We take the picture inside here, but all of us will go out there to accommodate the larger house.
The guy is a cherry That's the essence of Thank you. Sorry, we want to crave the indulgence of Her Excellency. No, I felt wrong. Just a minute. Because you're back and I want you. Huh?
Please, the paparazzi people, can you just sum that up in seconds so that we have the good photograph? All right. Okay, you've had enough shots. We want to plead with Her Excellency. She will just take a detour via the gallery with the special guests going with them, constituting a team to just see the exhibition stands, and then she comes out the other way. So when she comes down, we will all join to take the pictures by the staircase. Please allow her to move now, please. Please. Would Mr. the chairman, sir? Yes, she wants to see the exhibition stand, so she's coming up and going down that way. Your representative to lead her. She wants to see the exhibition stand.
Your love is patient. You fill my heart with so much peace and joy. You're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. You're amazing.
Please, after the photograph, we will have the flag parade of the universities. So when she finishes with the stands, she comes for the photograph with the entire participants.
Too much, excess love. Jesus, you love me too much, too much, excess love. Your love is kind. Your love is patient. You fill my heart with so much peace and
Femi Technica.
You're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. All your promises are yes,
Femi Technica.
and amen. You're not a man, you never lie. Jesus, you love me too much, excess love. Jesus, you love me too much, excess love. Jesus, you love me too much,
Sadekunle Protocol. Sadekunle Protocol.
Jesus, you love me too much, excess love. Too much, excess love. Your love for me too much, excess love. Too much, Jesus, love me, that you gave your life for me. What manner of love is this? What manner of love is this that you gave it all for me, oh God? Jesus, you love me. You love me. You love me. Excess love. Jesus, you love me too much, Jesus, you love me too much, Who am I that you're mindful of me? Who am I that you gave it all for me? Jesus, you love me too much, excess love. Jesus, you love me too much, you love me too much, unconditional love you ever me. Eloi, my Sabbath, you say it all for me. Thank you for loving me too much, unconditionally. Thank you for loving me too much. Thank you for loving me too much. Thank you for loving me too much.
please. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We are about taking the pictures now, so we want the arrangement to be on. As Her Excellency comes, it just fits into our own position. The shot is taken and we come back for the tea break. So may we kindly come to the terrace out there where the picture will be taken. Thank you very much, sirs and ma'ams. She's at the last stand, so she's coming down within the next few minutes. Please, all Vice Chancellors, let's take the photograph. Let's take the group photograph. We'll come back for our break, please. Please. And for those who registered yesterday, your tags are ready for collection at the registration stand. So please, she's already on her way to the place. May we oblige her with our presence, please, in that group photograph. Now. Thank you very much. Please, let's take the shot. Please, let's join the photograph now. Thank you. Please, a little while. Hold on a little bit. The ES is here.
Yes, you reign.
Please, as earlier announced, the 2 side serving points in the front are for vice chancellors and their spouses only. Others, please make use of the one at the rear. I said you are representing the vice chancellor. The 2 by the front are meant for the vice chancellors and their spouses or representatives. The others are for others, the support staff and others. Thank you. Please, spouses of vice chancellors, there is a photograph we want you to take outside now with the wife of the host vice chancellor. If you do not mind, please. Spouses of vice chancellors, the cameramen are waiting for you at the terrace outside now.
My soul says it, says it, says it. My soul says it, says it to your love. Come on, you know it, just sing it with me. My soul says yes, says yes, says yes. Can I take it again?
Please, while the tea break is on, I want to invite the representative of Higher Education Partners South Africa. Higher Education Partners South Africa, please, can you just speak to us now with your presentation while we are busy with our mouth and hands? The eyes are free, so come and do something, and good enough, our eyes are also free. You're welcome.
What moment you choose, whatever you plan. Oh my Lord, let your will be done.
While you technique.